The base is dropped on a beautiful Tuesday morning in the ATL. Soccer Down Here is live. September 24th, one day away from a very busy Wednesday in MLS that will go a long way to settling the playoff picture. And there's a lot of twists and turns that it could take tomorrow night. We'll get you set for the twists and turns that we could see firsthand at Yankee Stadium with Atlanta and NYC, as well as the rest of the MLS schedule, which we'll preview. You know, why don't we just do it off the top, John? That's what seems to work these days.
Check. Ready to go.
All right. Well, it's a busy schedule tomorrow in Major League Soccer. It starts with Atlanta and NYC at Yankee Stadium. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that in hour number 2. The next one on the docket is in Minnesota. The Loons are hosting Sporting Kansas City at 8 o'clock. The Loons are trying to lock up their playoff spot. Kansas City, Matt Besler is suspended after a red card against Colorado. Sporting have lost their last 3 in a row on the road. Minnesota's undefeated in their last 8. They're looking for 3 here. They're not just looking for a nice draw. They need 3. They're undefeated against Sporting in their last 5 at home in all competitions as well. With the Besler suspension, it really feels like a Loons win here.
Yeah, and that's how I was leaning. We have Juicebox early numbers, and Minnesota's at minus 120. Sporting is at plus 280, and your draw option plus 300, but I'm leaning Loons.
Yeah, same. I think Minnesota takes care of this. I'm a little surprised it's not a bigger home favorite number, but we'll see how the Loons handle this. They will be feeling some pressure. I think their point out in Portland was a good point. I think they'll be happy with that, and they'll bring that momentum back to Allianz Field. RSL and LA Galaxy could be, outside of Atlanta NYC, the game of the night. It's a 9:30 kick on the East Coast. RSL have won 9 of their last 11 at home. The Galaxy have conceded at least 2 goals in their last 7 matches on the road. They've lost 6 of them. The Galaxy only have 1 win in Utah in their last 10 matches in all competitions. And go ahead and take the over on this, because the last 5 matches between these two have produced a whopping 4.8 goals per match. The Galaxy can't defend, but they can score. RSL have been really good at home, so even if they give up a goal here, you feel like they can find more. I think RSL takes control of a home playoff match in this one. I think they can handle the Galaxy on the road. What do the Juicebox purveyors think?
Let's see. Even money RSL, plus 100. Galaxy at plus 260. Draw at plus 250. And with the total being 2.5, the over is minus 200. Both teams to score with a yes option, minus 225.
Yeah, I think RSL gets it done. I think there are goals. I think it's probably a 3-1 type of match. That's kind of where my head's at with RSL getting this win. That might be Freddie Juarez giving you some updates.
Yeah, really?
LAFC have been struggling as of late, 5 straight without a win. They get Houston come into town. That's exactly who you want to see coming into your building when you need a win, because Houston have lost 13 of their last 14 on the road. They've conceded at least 2 goals in 9 of their last 11 on the road. This is another one where take the over. There will be lots of goals. I don't think Houston can do anything on the road at this point. I think LAFC gets their first win in a little while. I'm a little afraid to see what the numbers have to say on this one.
Early returns, minus 500 for LAFC.
Oh, wow, I didn't think it'd be that much.
Houston,
What's the number
plus
for Houston?
1,000.
Plus 1,000. Oh, my goodness.
The draw, plus 600. And let's see, a couple of props here. You're over under at 2.5, the over minus 350. Both teams to score minus 163 on the yes side. And there are 3 players, although one of them would be the Carlos Gruezo pick. 3 players on the minus side to score anytime during the match. Carlos Vela, minus 300. Diego Rossi, minus 138. And Dio at minus 125. I think that one would be kind of hard.
Yeah, Dio's not scoring, so they might want to update their numbers there. There's just no chance. Like I know those numbers for Houston are really exciting, and you're like, ooh, okay, wait a minute, maybe. Ooh, no, don't. Just don't.
No.
Don't. Not even the orange juice box for the Dynamo. No, not happening. Not happening. The Dynamo aren't getting anything out of Bank of California Stadium. If they do, start sounding the alarm about LAFC. That's just where it stands. Portland hosting New England. It's a 10:30 kick. The Revs are taking the Patriots plane out to Oregon. Robert Kraft has realized that he has a soccer team and that they're trying to get into the playoffs. And there's lots of things happening. I mean, he's upped the investment. They're building a training facility. They didn't put football lines down. They actually put in the work after the game and drew the football lines on the field for the Patriots. So things are picking up a bit. I think they're actually running a special train out to Foxborough that they haven't done in years for people who want to go to the game this weekend. Yeah, it's picking up a bit. So the Revs are flying out in style. They're undefeated in 17 of their last 19. That's 2 losses in their last 19. But they haven't been winning a lot lately. It's been a lot of draws. It was another draw on the weekend. There's been 4 draws between these two sides in the last 5 times they've played. Portland, they had a draw on the weekend too. They couldn't score a goal. They haven't scored a goal in their last 3 at home. It feels like a very tight game, and Portland should be the team that wins that. I'm not convinced that they do. I'm really not. I'm not exactly convinced in New England either, but what's the draw number?
Plus 320.
Oh, well, that might be where we go with this. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, just because of Portland's inability and then New England going out there, and I figured it would cancel each other out. Portland minus 150, your draw plus 320. And the Revs at plus 350 to win on their own.
This feels like one of those that the game last weekend where I said do this actually would have worked. The Toronto at LAFC game where the numbers were big on the draw and on Toronto winning, and it's like take a juice box and put it on each. That's kind of how I feel in this one. I can see New England winning more than I can see Portland winning right now.
Yeah,
and I've been a huge fan of what Giovanni Savaresi's done with the Timbers. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they're an older team that's feeling it right now, and they're in their own heads at the moment in the final third. I can see Carlos Gil and Gustavo Bo finding a goal far more likely than – I can see that happening. It's far more likely than Portland finding one. I'm leaning draw, but if you've got a spare juice box, you might want to throw it on the Revs. I think those – are more likely results than a Timbers win at home. I'm just not believing in the Timbers at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am. After watching that match on the weekend and then seeing where they are right now, just kind of taking stock of this last handful of matches, I'm like, if I have a choice, I mean, if I'm literally told you have to do one thing or the other, if it's avoid or draw, I would go draw.
Yeah, I'd go draw here. That's what I think is the strongest possibility. I'm leaning draw. But, again, if you have a spare juice box, if you've got that which one are we going to go with this time? Like the Kiwi kumquat one in the back that says it's all organic and like exotic and crazy and it's in a fancy package. Yeah, throw it on a win for the Revs. The one that you're not going to drink, but you feel cool because you have it, throw that on the Revs. on a win here, but
the
take
one
a
that you
better
put,
one and
the
put
one
it on
that
the
you
draw.
put at the front of the refrigerator shelf when you have a party come over
To show you're
and you
cultured,
think,
yeah.
yes, okay,
Yeah, that one, you
yeah,
can go and throw it on a Revs win. But I
yes,
think you're going to get a draw out of this one.
yeah, I think it's a draw.
One of the most intriguing ones is in San Jose, as the Quakes host the Philadelphia Union. San Jose will be without Chris Wondolowski. They'll be without Christian Espinoza. They'll be without Matias Almeida. Philadelphia will likely be without Mark McKenzie and Sergio Santos, both had hamstrings in the loss at Red Bull Arena. San Jose, they've lost 3 in a row, all on the road. They've won 6 of their last 7 at home. Philadelphia, however, have not lost to San Jose in their last 5 meetings, but 3 straight draws. Philadelphia have lost their last 2, or they haven't won in their last 2. They won 3 of their 4 previous to that. This feels like a toss-up. I'm leaning home team, but without Wando, without Espinoza, I'm not leaning too hard. Can Philadelphia get up off the mat and get something out of this? If they can, it'd be an impressive result. I have no idea what the experts are going to say on this one.
San Jose minus 125. And both Philadelphia right. and both your Philadelphia and your draw option are at plus 300.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty even-keeled match. It's the home team is the favorite, which is what it should be. It doesn't really give you a whole lot else than that. If I'm looking at an upset special in these matches, New England feels like a better upset special than Philadelphia.
Not the Dynamo?
No.
Plus 1,000.
No, I'm not even taking the old can that I have for a collector's item of Orange Crush. I'm not even taking that. And
see, but it's a collector's item. I wouldn't even sacrifice that. I would just put it on the shelf above the fridge.
If you're collecting Orange Crush, you've got bigger problems than what you're picking on these games. It's Orange Crush. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I think New England's the best upset special here. I just don't see it with Philadelphia and San Jose. I think backs against the wall, the Quakes find a way to at least get a result. I think they get 3 points. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's a draw just because of absences. So I've got to go. I was going to go with the draw option on this one.
I'm going San Jose win, and I'll be curious to see the effects at the weekend of how New England traveled and how Philadelphia traveled.
Yes.
Because they're very different, and we will see how those look when we get to the weekend. There's one more match tomorrow that we have to keep an eye on. It's the Canadian Championship second leg, 7:30 kick in Toronto at BMO Field. It is the Reds hosting the blue and black of the Montreal Impact. Toronto's won this tournament 3 straight times. They're trying to get number 4. Montreal haven't won it since 2014, but the Impact have a 1-0 lead after their home leg. That was Toronto's only loss in their last 11 matches in all competitions. Montreal rested players over the weekend. They didn't send everybody out to L.A. to face the Galaxy. Toronto went to L.A., and they didn't rest anybody against LAFC. How does Toronto handle this? Do they get it done?
Juicebox purveyors are leaning toward Toronto.
Now, be clear in what numbers you're giving here on.
Yes, this is match only. This is not.
It's just the match. Okay.
Yes, just the match. Match only. Toronto is anywhere from minus 161 to minus 176. Montreal to win plus 376 to plus 399. There is a plus 345 on the board. So they're looking at Toronto in the match as a somewhat prohibitive favorite. The draw option is in the plus 325 range. So for the match itself, they're looking at prohibitive favorite Toronto.
If Remy Gard was still in Montreal, I think he could get out of here with a draw. I don't know if Wilmer Cabrera can. I think Toronto wins it in regulation.
Yeah, looking at totals, the over-under, let's say over-under of 3 is probably as main line as you're going to get. So it's minus 124, and I'm trying to see if they're looking at other things as well. But the draw option with anything else on the board, just draw period, minus 455. So, yeah, they're looking at prohibitive favorite for the match, Toronto FC.
I believe this is traditional kind of rules over 2 legs, that away goals are the first tiebreaker. You don't have any as of yet, but if Montreal can get one, then things get really interesting. Gwen checking herself. Yes. She's chiming in with her thoughts on it. She's a big Montreal fan. She's begging me to bring some poutine back for her next week.
Oh.
It's not going to happen. It's too rough on the puppo's stomach. But Montreal, if they can find one, they make this far more difficult. I think they can, but I think Toronto wins 3-1.
Yeah, sounds about right for me. I would agree with you on this one, and I know that Gwen is searching for a lot of other options to see if Montreal can pull through. But, yeah, I'm looking at Toronto FC in that one.
Gwen's trying to figure out, Nacho Piatti's health. He got the goal in the first leg. She really likes Nacho Piatti. I just don't think Nacho Piatti's enough. So Gwen's probably going to bite me during the break, and that's okay. It's all right. We'll have a conversation about it, and we'll see what you guys think. Do Toronto win? Does Montreal win? What happens in the other games? Give us your thoughts. Give us your predictions. Go ahead and chime in on Twitter at @SoccerDownHere. It's a Tuesday Thoughts edition, so we will be taking your thoughts wherever they may fall today, and they can go in whatever direction you want to go. We've got some thoughts for you from around the league in the next segment right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Apolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. September 24th edition. Big day around the league tomorrow, and here's a few little updates around Major League Soccer for you. Kind of a surprising one yesterday. Yohan Cabane of Sporting Kansas City, he's gone. He's out the door. They agreed to mutually part ways, announced yesterday. He hadn't played since July 26th, but why are you letting him walk out the door right now? Why does he want to walk out the door right now? What?
Yes.
He can't go sign anywhere.
No.
Maybe there's a couple leagues with an open window. I'm not sure, but That move never worked out. There were flashes of it. We saw Quasi play as a left back some this year. He's an attacking midfielder. It just never worked. That's a big miss for Sporting Kansas City. And when you look at Kansas City's season this year, you see all the injuries. You see this type of stuff because this doesn't happen just out of the blue. This isn't just a random thing. This had to be something that was brewing, you would think.
Yeah.
So, Peter Vermes is not a happy camper this year. And they haven't been awful. Like, they've had moments when they've been healthy that they've looked like the Kansas City that you expect. They've got some big questions going into next year, though. Now you've got to find an attacking midfielder. Now you've got to start to look at Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi. Are you ready to roll with them again? Do you need to supplement what two, stalwarts of the club give you, but also two players who are getting up there in years? I can't wait to see what Kansas City does because they're not going to accept the year that they've had just lying down. I think you're going to see some changes. I don't think, and people have speculated, I don't think Peter Vermes is gone. That would be foolish in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that would be no. You don't get rid of Peter Vermes because of all of the injuries and early season play and all of this kind of stuff. He definitely gets a pass to proceed on to the next season and have a healthy team and have younger players who are a year more experienced in the system and things like that. But yeah, any thought of Peter Vermes being shown the door is absolutely silly.
They're out there. Those thoughts are out there.
Silly, I say.
Yeah, they are definitely out there. Something that's just popping up this morning are new stadium renderings in Columbus for their new downtown stadium. crewstadium.com is where you want to go, and I don't remember them looking like this before, and this is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. This is a pretty good look. It's a really unique look because there's a roof structure, but it's a little different in the way that it's done. I like it. I really like it. Let's see. The groundbreaking celebration will be on October 10th, and they're obviously telling you to join the wait list if you are in Columbus and you want to get in on this. But I think this is the tease that they have been doing for a little while. They've got lots of different renderings of what it looks like from the air, what it looks like from the seating bowl. It's a 360-degree canopy covering all fans. But it's kind of like elevated. Like it's not enclosed. I think like Allianz has a covering over it than the canopy. This one, it's different. I like it. It works. I think it works really well, and they've got some plazas they can do stuff in on a regular basis. They are going to go with all safe standing seating in the supporters end, 3,400 capacity in their supporters end, 2 standing room only elevated terraces. It's a cool look. I think Columbus has got it right with these renderings for sure. Yeah,
and I want to see, okay, so how close is the end product going to be to what we're seeing here? And yes, you can place a deposit if you click one of the tabs. So that they're looking forward to that. But yeah, I think the whole idea of completely covered seating / standing for supporters, I think that's cool. And like I said, if the renderings can come close to the end product, I think it'll be a good showcase for Columbus Crew in their new barn. And just now that you're showing this kind of stuff, all right, next steps, and let's see if you can stay on your timetables and stay on your budget and get things done in the manner that you've laid out for everybody to make sure that Crew SC get their new home.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're getting it. Like that's that part you can throw out the door. It's like Miami at this point where I think, are you still saying Miami's not going to happen? Are you still trying to go there?
Go with with Inter Fort Lauderdale?
Are you just trying to say that Miami doesn't exist? that it's imaginary, that it's not going to happen. Because you kind
You
of did
buy
that
the
to the
gear.
Columbus Crew Stadium, which is unfair.
Yeah, you can buy the gear for Inter Miami, so they exist in that way.
They have an expansion draft scheduled, John. They have players. They're happening. They're going to
Yes.
play next season. You can
Yes.
leave that to the side. You're not the only one leading that train, but yeah, they're going to play. Columbus, yeah, they're going to build the stadium now. They've advanced past that. They're breaking ground.
I just want to look. Pictures are one thing, and they're fantastic, and I hope they pull it off. But then, as we seem to see more often than not, when it comes to new stadia, you either end up with budget overruns and deadlines that get passed, or you try to shave corners to make sure that you get in the door.
That's a different
and
conversation. Yeah.
Things are missing.
No, that's a different conversation. Does it match the renderings? Yeah, that's a different one. Is it going to happen? I mean, they're breaking ground. I think they're pretty far along.
Taking deposits, breaking ground.
Yeah, I mean, and that doesn't guarantee everything, but I don't think you get the ownership change. I don't think you get the investment to make that happen if you're not going to get this stadium done. Because it doesn't work if you don't have it. And yes, Anthony Precourt was correct in saying that. Columbus Crew do not work if you're not playing in a better venue downtown. Doesn't happen.
By the way, Nick Alifi has chimed in on Inter Miami this morning.
Oh, is Nick leading the train that Miami doesn't happen?
Fake news.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Nick. They're happening. They have players. They had a player who had a great weekend with Bonfield in Argentina, Julian Carranza. They're going to happen. They're going to play in a temporary venue in Fort Lauderdale.
Inter Fort Lauderdale, here we come.
God, everybody wants to be a hater when it comes to this stuff. You guys need to have your hater club. That's what I'm saying. Because
I'm not a
they're going to
hater,
play
I'm
in
a
Fort Lauderdale.
participator.
You are a hater. Hater when it comes to Miami. Absolutely hater. I think you've accepted that they're going to play, but I'm not even sure if you've accepted that.
Hey, they're selling gear. That's to me, that's one of the big steps in getting out there on the pitch. You're selling a bunch of pink and black gear with very skinny flamingos back to back on it.
I don't know if they're selling a bunch, but it looks good.
Yeah.
They're happening.
So,
and they might be in Fort Lauderdale for a long time. That absolutely could happen. That part isn't what I'm saying. I'm not making any judgments on Miami politics because I know better.
Oof.
But are they going to play? Is there going to be a team called Inter Miami playing in Major League Soccer next year? Yes, that's happening. And we'll see who the manager is. Santiago Solari is the name that is out there now. I still kind of want to see Gattuso.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it may be good.
Press conferences. That's all I want. I just want to be able to throw it down to the press conference and get some Gattuso gems on a 7-second delay. Of course.
Oh, that'd be yeah. See, that's the thing. When have we had press conferences in MLS that have been mandatory 7-second delay?
Gattuso would get that. 100%.
That's what I'm saying. But before an alleged Gattuso press conference in MLS, have we ever had a coach that you knew going in had to have a 7-second delay?
No. Diego Maradona hasn't been in the league, so no. He would get the 7-second delay, and he'd get it for video too because you don't know what he's going to do.
No. And Nick is now doubling down and saying that Inter Miami is an artist's rendering.
Nick could be a burner account. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he exists, but his Twitter handle could be a burner account. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
I was going to say, so if he exists and it was a burner account, then what did we have last night at Stalker over there?
He's a walking burner account sometimes. It's craziness.
Hashtag walking burner account.
Yes. Let's go back to Columbus real quick. Will Trapp. He's been the captain of this club. He was a focal point for Greg Berhalter. He didn't start in the match here in Atlanta. He didn't start again last week. What's next for Will Trapp?
I believe probably a change of address kit with the United States Postal Service.
Well, Is it with the United States Postal Service or is it with another country's postal service? Because remember, he was very close to going to England at one point. He has a Greek passport. He's in a little bit different situation than some others when it comes to work permits and such, and he has caps. I mean, he might be able to get it. I don't see him back with Columbus next year. I don't think he's what Caleb Porter wants. And you look at Caleb Porter's older Portland Timbers teams, he didn't play with a holding midfielder like Trapp. Trapp's a good player. I don't know if Trapp is a starter for the national team, but Trapp is a good player. Trapp is a player that needs to be in a specific kind of system, though, to get the best out of him. He's not a guy who's going to win you a bunch of tackles. He's not going to be a defensive stalwart. He's going to be a guy who starts your possession. He's going to be a guy who gets a lot of passes per match. He's going to be a player to build around if you want a lot of the ball. And not every team wants that. So Will Trapp, I don't think he's back in Columbus next year, but I don't know where he is. I don't know if he gets an opportunity to go overseas, or I don't know if he goes to another team in the league. If you're Nashville and you're thinking about playing in that way, Will Trapp's a player you should consider. I don't know if Gary Smith wants to play in that way. I'm kind of leaning to Gary Smith being a little bit more of a defend and counter, and expect to see that with Nashville. But who knows? Trapp, I just don't see him back in Columbus. Warshaw had a really good piece over at MLSsoccer.com. It was in his 24 things about the 24 teams. But he listed the best holding midfield pairings in the league. And he gave you 6. And
in order or just 6?
I believe they're in order. They're not in any kind of alphabetical order or by the team. So I believe these are in order. And I could buy these being in order to a degree. Edward Atuesta and Mark Anthony Kaye with LAFC. Jonathan Dos Santos and Sebastian Lletget with the Galaxy. Alexander Ring and Keaton Parks with NYC. Osvaldo Alonso and Jan Gregush with Minnesota. Harris Medunjanin and Alejandro Bedoya with Philadelphia. And Eric Remedi, Darlington Nagbe with Atlanta. I could quibble a little bit about placement. I would probably go Atuesta
Gregush
and
Alonso I'd have higher.
Atuesta and Kaye, yes. I would, this season, Medunjanin and Bedoya would be my number 2. Alonso and Gregush would be my 3. Ring and Parks would be 4. Remedi Nagbe would be 5. And Dos Santos Lletget would be 6.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's the order I would go.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. When I saw, that's why I asked specifically if they were listed in order by Warshaw. When I saw that he had Alonso and Gregush as 4, I'm like,
Oh, no. I have him at 3. Like, it's not crazy to have him at 4. I think Medunjanin and Bedoya have been better, so I'd have them ahead of him. I think Atuesta and Kaye have been better. I'd have them ahead of them.
No doubt.
You could potentially argue Ring and Parks are better. I'm not going to fight you if you tell me that you think Alexander Ring and Keaton Parks are better than Alonso and Gregush. I think Alonso and Gregush have been just a little bit better this year, but Ring and Parks is pretty close.
Well, I also look at
are further down.
Yeah, but I also, where my Minnesota ranking is that I also look at what they were able to do year to year as a team in the standings. And so bringing in a guy like Gregush and having Alonso there, to me, with what they've been able to do in the West, that's why I had them higher. But yeah, Medunjanin and Bedoya too.
Conversation. If you're talking about most impactful new pairing, yep. If you're talking about best holding midfield pairings, I don't think they're the best. I think Atuesta and Kaye, Medunjanin and Bedoya are definitely better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there because, like I said, I had Atuesta and Kaye at 1, and you putting Medunjanin and Bedoya because of the year that they're having this season, putting them at 2 made sense.
Medunjanin is a great player. I mean, I think a lot of times we think of Harris Medunjanin and his outburst here in Atlanta last year, but Harris Medunjanin is a great player, and Alejandro Bedoya has been the perfect kind of designated player signing for Philadelphia, a player who is not crazy expensive, a captain, a player who can play a number of roles for you, and a guy who's leading your team. and a guy who's a focal point for your team. So those two combined, that's Philadelphia. Philadelphia will go as far as those two take them.
Yep. So, but yeah, I had Dos Santos legit at 6, from Eddie Nagby 5, and Ring Parks 3A, 3B with Alonso and Gregish, Medunian and Bedoya 2, and Atuesta and Mark Anthony K at 1.
All right, let's take a quick break. Let us know your thoughts. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get to those right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, September 24th edition of the show. Lots of stuff popping up out of Columbus. The Downtown Commission voted to approve the stadium, so you're set for the October 10th groundbreaking now. Quote from, this is Tristan Navera of Columbus Biz First, a website that covers all business news in Central Ohio. The quote, and I'm assuming it's coming from someone with the Downtown Commission, it's one of those cases where something fell through before and what came back was better. And that could be referring to a lot of things, the plan, the funding, but also maybe the ownership change. Maybe the Downtown Commission was not as interested in working with Anthony Precourt, but is far more interesting in working with the new ownership. That could easily be the case.
Yeah. With what the Haslams have brought to Cleveland and the Browns, and bringing in all the changes in the front office, which in turn have brought in an exciting product with the Browns on the field, trying to do the same thing now with Columbus. They've been great stewards in Cleveland, and now you're seeing them spread their wings into MLS with Columbus Crew now.
I guess there's still one more piece of land that they're trying to acquire or get done. Steve Lyons, who is the executive vice president and CBO of the Crew, said that a land deal with Nationwide Realty Investors is progressing, should be done by the October 10th groundbreaking. Also, he said that the stadium, quote, is a modern Midwestern icon, unquote. That's a bold statement.
Okay. All right. Make it so.
I like it. Also, the U.S. women's national team will be playing at Montfray November 7th against Sweden. Pretty good game, actually. And
I want to see what the crowd's like.
I believe that is the last game for Jill Ellis. I think that's the final one for her. So kind of an interesting match all the way around. I think they'll have a great crowd. Columbus always does well for the national team, so it will be a big one, and I think it'll be a great send-off for Ellis.
Can we do a quick NWSL sidebar before we get back into everything else?
Yes, we can.
It's been disappointing for me to see the lack of national team players who have gone back to their teams in the NWSL, because after they win the World Cup, you see all the statements, you see all of the stuff at podiums and things like that about, okay, go and support your local team and your NWSL team and all that kind of stuff. But where were the players? I mean, you saw a lot of players go back, but I think some of the larger names that, you were kind of looking to as beacons in this whole thing, they were talking about supporting the NWSL, but how many of them actually went back to go play?
I think more than you think. I think it took longer than it should have, and that's a difficult situation that you just wonder how much was actually known. Did they know how long they would need after the tournament? Was it organized and how long they would get after the World Cup? You've had some injuries as well. Alex Morgan is out for the rest of the season with a patella stress reaction in her right knee. That's one that's been a problem that you haven't been able to really overcome. But you look at the matches from the weekend, and Tobin Heath scored a match winner for Portland in a 1-0 win over the Houston Dash. Carly Lloyd scored the winner for Sky Blue against Reign FC. We've seen Sam Mewis. She had a late penalty and a win for North Carolina over the Houston Dash.
Everybody went back to the Courage as quickly as possible.
And I think some of that's down to the club atmosphere. I think these clubs are still kind of figuring out how to be bigger. So North Carolina, everybody's bought in. They want to be part of that club. They want to be there. They don't want to miss time. So they come back and they take North Carolina to a 5-point lead at the top of the NWSL. And they have a game in hand on Chicago, who's 5 points back. So the Courage will win the Shield again. They'll be the favorite going into the postseason. They have a goal differential of plus 31. The next best is plus 12. They'll be the team to beat. Now, Chicago and Portland are right there, 41 points and 39 points, second and third. And it's a battle between Utah and Reign and Washington and maybe Houston to try to get that fourth spot. They're separated by 6 points from 4 to 7. It's been disappointing. I think it was disappointing in some of the messaging right after the tournament when it came to supporting the league and the players will be back, and then it's, well, the players won't quite be back. They'll be back soon. You did have just injury, fatigue. You did have some things that led to it. But this is something the league has to manage better going forward, because I don't know if it has created bad feelings for people who expected to see national team players and they maybe weren't back yet. The numbers have been good in the seats. The attendances have held up. It wasn't just a 1 week bump. They've been pretty good.
And that was going to be one of my next questions: is how has attendance been after that initial bump around the league?
Well, Sky Blue's playing another game at Red Bull Arena. I think that tells you everything you need to know when you talk about a club that was barely functioning as a club. They actually have an existing general manager now. They're playing a second game at Red Bull Arena. It feels like maybe they could be turning the corner. And if they're turning the corner, then you're in a good spot. The numbers have been up a good bit. I'm pulling up the latest. So this is as of September 21st. This is week 22. You've got everybody in the league up year over year. The league as a whole is up 21% year over year, averaging 7,305 per game. Portland leading the way, 19,696 is their average for the year. Utah's over 10,000 with 10,889. They drew 9,900 in week 22. Portland drew 21,000 in week 22. The North Carolina Courage have been about the same. They're up 9%. Chicago Red Stars is one of the big success stories. They're up 38%. They're averaging 5,500. Week 21, they drew 4,300, which is still over last year's average. Reign drew 6,100 in Week 21. That's above their 2019 average of 5,200, which is up 37% from last year. The move for them to Tacoma could be helping that as much as a World Cup bump. Houston's up 10%. Sky Blue's up 14%. I think the games with Sky Blue at Red Bull Arena have grabbed a lot of attention. Washington Spirit up 59%, playing games at Audi Field. That's helped a lot for them. I think they've done a good job with the resources they have in taking advantage of the World Cup. The questions now are, what is 2020 going to be? Who's going to be managing it? Is it going to be U.S. Soccer again? Because I think that contract is up. Who's managing the league, the admin, all that kind of stuff? If the league's doing it themselves, or they're going to partner with, I think USL was floated out there at one point. There's lots of different ways they can do that sort of stuff. That has to be nailed down. Future expansion has to be nailed down. Announcements need to be made. Continue this momentum because you've got it right now.
Yeah.
Now it's time to take full advantage.
And that's what I want to see. Where you have this momentum, what are your next steps? While you solidified your foundation here a little bit, what do you do? Who are your next cities? Who are your partners? Are your sponsorships going to continue, and are your television deals going to continue in the ways that they've been able to grow? What are the next steps in this process to have the league grow, to have the league footprint grow, to continue to have attendance figures continue to go up a little bit, if not just continue to be as constant as they've been after this bump from the World Cup? And who wants to stand in line to be those next cities to help continue moving the league forward for me? Those are the questions I have, and I'm waiting to see what the league has in store for those answers.
And you have the first games of the newly professional Argentine Women's League that took place over the weekend. Mexico, we've seen lots of big crowds in Mexico, and Mexico didn't qualify for the World Cup. It feels like the women's game, is growing in this hemisphere. We've talked about how it's growing in Europe. We've talked about the Women's Super League and playing games in the big stadiums during the international breaks and drawing a lot of attention for the Manchester Derby, for example. The European Champions League got started. You're starting to see that all of that taken more seriously in Europe. But here in this hemisphere, the NWSL isn't just competing with the European teams. They're going to be competing with Mexico. As Mexico continues to grow and that league becomes more of a focal point and continues to get more attention, NWSL is going to have to deal with that too. There's a lot of opportunity, I think, for NWSL to grow, but they can't be stagnant right now because there's so much happening in the women's game that should be pushing them forward. And I think in this hemisphere specifically, the NWSL can take a leadership role and push CONCACAF to create the CONCACAF Champions League for women. Push U.S. Soccer to create the Open Cup for women and make these things a big deal because they should be. And the NWSL can be the focal point of it, and those things can be part of that growth, along with adding more teams, along with raising the standard of play, along with raising the money that is paid out, along with increasing sponsorship. All those things need to continue to happen for the league to grow.
And what we're seeing, just as an example, with TuesdayThoughts doing double headers of the Liga MX Femina. I mean, it's tremendous. And to have that kind of effort and weight thrown behind a league by a network of TuesdayThoughts stature, I mean, that for me is – I mean, I catch myself buzzing past it, and I'll sit there and I will stop and watch. Bottom line, I will stop and watch Liga MX Femina because of production, presentation, and the anticipation of where I'd like to see the league and the game grow in this hemisphere. I actually do stop and watch.
When Liga MX Femina is getting higher production standards and more over-the-air TV or cable TV coverage than the NWSL in the United States, that's an issue. That's an issue for the NWSL. It's something they're going to have to deal with. Getting some games on ESPN here as the year's gone on is good. It's a good step. Needs to be more for next season because you just have to be present to get that notoriety, that attention. Right now, NWSL is not present enough, and hopefully that can change next year. I know we have a few other Tuesday thoughts to get to on Twitter. What do we have, John?
Matt Wagner's been busy this morning. And in going through the conversation that we've had about Inter Miami, along our conversation in that vein, Matt says perhaps Orlando has fabricated at Inter Miami CF in the attempt to force a rivalry.
Oh, the last thing Orlando wants is Miami to appear because that's another team that is going to push Orlando down in the interest and down in the standings. I mean, it's a problem for Orlando because Orlando came in 2015. Let's just look at the teams that have come in since them and where they are right now. So NYC came in with them. New York City is at the top of the Eastern Conference at the moment. 2017, Atlanta came in with them. Atlanta's got trophies. Second in the Eastern Conference right now. Minnesota, about to get into the playoffs for the first time. They're in third in the Western Conference. 2018, LAFC came into the league. They're probably going to break the all-time points record in Major League Soccer this year. They're on 65 points. They're leading the Western Conference. So the teams that have come in with Orlando or since are 1-2 in the East and 1-3 in the West.
Yep.
You have Miami and Nashville coming in next year, and you have Orlando in 10th in the East. And this is the first time that they have had a point total better than the previous year.
But still, no postseason.
Well, yes. Well, they're not out yet, so hold the phone just a little bit. But, yeah, they're pretty much out. Hey.
Holding my phone.
They didn't stink worse than they did last year. I guess that is a little bit of progress that you have to give them. They're not giving up as many goals.
Way to go. You stink less.
Well, it's something. But do you think Miami is going to have more than 36 points next year going into the final 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah.
I think so. I think if they don't, it's a failure.
Yeah.
Nashville, I don't know. I don't know. I think Nashville could be somewhere between Cincinnati and Minnesota in how it looked year one, somewhere around there. Yeah. I hope they're not. I hope they're further along than that, but I have a few concerns that that's the type of approach they're going to take, a little bit slower build. Will they be ahead of Orlando next year? I don't know. They shouldn't be. Orlando should be well ahead of them. It shouldn't even be a conversation. But who do you feel like right now, based off what you've seen, will be higher in the standings at this point next year? Miami or Orlando?
Miami.
That's pretty sad that you're believing more in a team that has 3-4 players, and according to some is a figment of people's imagination, than a team that has played 5 seasons.
What does that say about what Orlando hasn't done in the last 5 years?
No, I'm saying it's sad for Orlando that teams that don't exist yet, you would pick them to be ahead of Orlando next season. A team that's never played a match. People, I think it's a fair pick to be. No, I'm not arguing with you, John. I'm not arguing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
I know. I'm just saying that I have more confidence in what I've seen from the front office that is the figment of our imagination with Inter Miami, with all of the TV cutaways of David Beckham doing things internationally in a very high-priced suit and a very high-priced seat, than I've seen with Orlando trying to build however they're trying to build.
I don't know. Orlando's just a mess. I don't even know how to describe what they're going to do next year. I mean, they're better. They absolutely are better than they've been. They have some building blocks that can make them even better. But are they going to get it right? Are they going to make the right moves around it? Who knows? Because they haven't exactly shown themselves to do it. Although bringing in Janssen this year, good. Nani, good signing.
Juan.
Yohan, good signing. Can they go get something bigger than that? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, if I'm looking at my juice boxes, I'm going to feel a lot better about them going on Miami being higher in the table than Orlando at the end of next season. And that's a very sad statement about what Orlando City has been over 5 years in the league, when every team that has come in with them or since them is well ahead of them in the standings. I mean, not close.
Yeah.
58 points for NYC, 36 for Orlando. Same year. 54 points for Atlanta, 36 for Orlando. Trophies, and you came in 2 years later.
Yeah.
Minnesota, 49 points.
With your old manager.
Yes, that's even worse. 13 more points. They got your first manager in charge. They stuck by him. They didn't pull the trigger and run him out of town early. And they're 13 points ahead of you, and they're in the third spot in the Western Conference while you're sitting in 10th in the East.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder why people are not going to Orlando games. There is your answer right there. It's not even it's not even LAFC. It's not even NYC. It's not even Atlanta. It's Minnesota with Adrian Heath.
Yeah. And Matt. Oh, okay. So Matt has another couple of things. Matt says that we can just trade Orlando for the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Ooh, that'll really upset Orlando fans.
Pro Rel. There's your Pro Rel. We're just going to trade down.
I don't think Tampa Bay, now that the Rays own it, I don't think they're interested in that type of investment right now. They kind of backed off because I don't think they know where they're going to play baseball next year, let alone.
That's the thing. It's like, where are you going to play baseball with that Montreal hybrid thought pattern that's going on? And you're not going to move the Rowdies indoors to go play at whatever sponsored Suncoast Dome it is now.
No, the Rowdies are fine. The Rowdies aren't going anywhere. They've got a great venue. That's not an issue.
Rowdies are fantastic at Al Lang. I mean, there's no
issue about Suncoast. No. That's not even on the table. Don't get people talking on that one. That's not happening. They're great, and they've got a venue that they could do more with if they so chose. I don't think that's where the Rays want to go right now. It's not to say that it won't happen. I just don't think it's where they go right now.
I think they're just cool with where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, USL Championship's a good place to be. You can make money there, and I think that's what Tampa Bay is trying to do at the moment. Let's take a break. We're going to get Kelly Francis's thoughts on these things and more right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
And we're back. Soccer Down Here, September 24th edition. Hour number 2 kicks off with Kelly Francis joining us.
Hello. It feels like I haven't been
back.
I haven't been talking to you guys for like almost a year now. But I'm glad that I'm finally back and able to chit chat with you gentlemen early in the morning to talk some soccer.
So you wanted a rundown, and we refused. We said, nope, we're not going to do it.
You did. I did. I asked. I was like, so what are we talking about? And you're like, nope, you're going to have to just free ball this. And I was like, great, thanks. Testicular fortitude, I believe, is the word.
You know, you were at the Jessica Bash last night at the Soccer Over There show from the Brewhouse Cafe. You were there last night.
In.
I did. I snuck in because, one, I knew Jess wanted to end that out. And then, two, I had only watched a few of the Premier League matches that weekend, and I just didn't want to be brought on. And I talked to Nick earlier about, me coming on, but I really want to get into the whole issue with Serie A on that show. And so I just need to do a little bit more research to make sure that I wasn't just flying by the seat of my pants when it comes to an issue like that. So, I mean, stay tuned. You'll listen to me sooner or later on Soccer Over There, but just trying to make the rounds as it were.
Well, we'll have you fly by the seat of your pants on something else.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Who will finish higher in the standings next year, Miami or Orlando? Who do you feel more confident in finishing higher in the standings? Let's put it that way.
Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the problem. Orlando's, so it's not, it's
Orlando. Huh.
They're their own detriment is the issue. So it feels like they have some opportunity. I'm not going to say every opportunity to be a better team, but they definitely have opportunity and players to be better than they are. But there's just something about the structure of that club, whether it's from the front office down or if it's just, inside the whole club atmosphere in general, that like for some reason, also I'm outside again because you know me. There's just something about that club that doesn't harbor a winning atmosphere, and that needs to change. And I don't know how Orlando does that. So I'm obviously pointing out an issue that needs to be fixed with no solution to even try and move forward. But it just feels like they keep going in this downward spiral, and there's really no door to go through to exit it.
I will give them this. I think the spiral at least didn't go further downward this year. I mean, it's still spiraling.
I would agree.
It's still spinning. It's not going up, but it's not going down.
Yeah, but you have to
just put an airmail stamp on Dom Dwyer's kit, though.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to Dwyer. I mean, that it's almost an unapproachable subject because you want to be able to talk about it, be like, why did this happen to a player like this? I mean, he wasn't having the best season where he was at prior, but coming into Orlando, you would think that he would at least try to progress in some way, and it just feels like it's been regression ever since. And so on top of not only the club being in a downward spiral, you got players going in a downward spiral. I mean, Sasha Kljestan was never going to come in and be the answer to all their problems, but you at least expected a little bit more out of him. I mean, Mueller is really the only shining beacon that him and why am I blanking on his name? Because we don't end up talking about him a lot, but he's a great player. He's the new guy they had this year. Wow, Kelly.
Nani,
thank you. Nani and Mueller to me are their two shining beacons. And if those two players have to sort of take the team on their shoulders and carry it, then fine. But you guys, they've got to get a new coach. I mean, there's just got to be some really big structural moves. Even front office, players, just the way that club is handled. I mean, they are the sort of black spot on MLS's white T-shirt.
Wow, that's a statement.
And you don't have the tie pin to get rid of the stain, basically?
You don't. Yeah. I mean, it's like a red wine spot, and you need the tie pin immediately. And you know that if you don't get it, that stain's just going to continue to be there forever. Even when you wash it, you can still see it, you know? So something's got to change. It just has to change.
It's like a lot's got to change for you.
It does. Well, you know, look, I'm with everybody. Orlando is our rival. I don't care what people say. That is 100% our rival. There's a feeling when you go into any of those matches, when you watch any of those matches, there's just a different magnitude.
I will say
to
it's
it.
a rival.
Yeah, well,
maybe not the rival, but a rival. Is that fair?
Yes. I still would probably contest you on that because I understand that, you know, the New York Red Bulls is also a rival for us. The same where, like, pretty much I'm now getting this feeling like we're going to be pitted against LAFC for God knows how long.
Yep.
As a rival. But
I think the T-shirt is about to be Atlanta versus everybody. I think that's kind of the idea.
Which is so interesting because I was talking about this last night with Curtis Jackson from Footy Mob, and he was basically explaining just how it sort of seems like with every other supporter group he's talked to, it feels like almost every MLS team right now is pitting themselves against Atlanta, which is such a strange thing because you're looking at it, and if we're talking about the darlings of the league, we're talking about LAFC right now. So why is that not then coming back against LAFC with LAFC? It's not just this. Undoubtedly, we are the team to hate. We are the Patriots of MLS, and it just really bothers me. But also at the same time, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, when you come into the league and you do what Atlanta United has done when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to scouting, when it comes to going after players, when it comes to having the model of investing in young talent so they can in turn be sent to other theaters, and you end up getting large amounts of money that you can reinvest, and you're doing something that other teams in the league have not done, and you've adopted the European model, and you're winning titles, and you're the new guy. Of course there's going to be jealousy there off the top.
Yeah, because you get all the toys to play with. And then all the other kids are staring at you on the playground, wondering why they didn't get those toys either. And it's just from good planning. It's from having a parent or an owner who gives you those toys. I mean, yeah, you got to look at it. There are other teams that have done really well on the building of youth, right? So obviously Philadelphia Union, San Jose, who's, I mean, still coming up with a very youthful team regardless. But there are other teams that are doing other things. One of my biggest sticking points, and I know that you guys were talking about this at the beginning of the podcast, is stadiums. So I'm glad that we are having soccer-specific stadiums being built in America, and I'm glad that this is a continuing trend where it's only designated for soccer, because there is a different feel when you're at a soccer-specific stadium. You're closer to the pitch. It's more of a feeling like you're in the game with the players. But the only test I have to that is the fact that there is no planning or thought through to make those stadiums bigger for when soccer does expand and when soccer does grow, and you're having an audience of 70. You have an audience of 70,000 that want to come to the game, but only 25,000 can sit there. You're shutting yourself out of a larger audience. And I mean, most people laugh or make jokes about how Atlanta United plays, quote unquote, and the Falcons' home. But when you really look at the planning of it, we're allowing ourselves to be a bigger club, to be a world-known club, because we're allowing more fans to come see us live.
It's treated as a bigger deal. And that's the thing that's always bugged me is for years and years and years, and this is well before Doug at the AJC. This is kind of in the era between the Ruckus and the Silverbacks. The thing that that the early versions of the Silverbacks and the things that honestly we were told with the Ruckus back in the mid to late 90s was that we're not going to cover soccer because they're only drawing 3,000, 4,000 a game. It's like high school football here. We're not going to commit the time to it because it's not big enough. All right, well now when you treat it like a big deal in Atlanta, you get that coverage. It's logical, it makes sense. Why are teams who are looking at things down the road saying, all right, we're going to build a stadium that seats 20 and we have no plan to grow it, so you're not going to be seen as big of a deal as you potentially could be? It's like you're afraid.
Right. It is like they're afraid. It's like if they open their wallet just a little bit bigger to allow more people to come to the stadium, they feel like they're going to end up shooting themselves in the foot, and then nobody's going to come. It's just that sort of thing that I'm about to go there, but if you build it, they will come. You have to allow yourselves to think bigger. You just have to. LAFC. Why is your stadium not bigger? Why is it not bigger? That team is incredible to watch. It's a joy to watch, honestly. Same with San Jose. That team is really fun to watch. Why are these stadiums? I mean, obviously San Jose doesn't pool like LAFC does, but it's just a matter of time, and with the right structure and with the right branding, you can do a lot of things. It's a power today of social media and changing a customer's perspective to wanting to take part in an experience, but you're going to shut yourself out of that door when you can only allow 25,000 to take part of the experience.
I like what San Jose does to bridge the gap by using Stanford and playing the Cali Classico over there in a bigger venue. If you have a smaller stadium, I think that's what you have to look at. And LAFC doesn't really have an in-between. I mean, they're right next door to the Coliseum. Do they go over to the Coliseum for a game one time? Maybe. I mean that would be wild.
My guess is they go to Kroenke World when that thing gets finished.
Well,
but could you imagine?
I think they go next door. I mean, the Coliseum is literally next door.
Next door, yeah. Could you imagine, though, watching the El Tráfico and the Coliseum? Yeah. It'd be insane. But those are the classics that are worldwide, right? The Barcelona Madrid Classic. Like, you want as many people in that stadium as absolutely possible. And I feel like a lot of MLS owners, when thinking about building great soccer-specific stadiums, but you're shooting yourself in the foot when you don't allow more people to view.
Okay, I know we only got a couple more minutes with you, Kelly.
Yeah.
And we could keep going and going and going and going and going. Okay. I have a very important question to ask you as part of our On This Day segment.
Okay.
So, on this day in 1936, Jim Henson was born, creator of the Muppets. We all love the Muppets. Who's your favorite Muppets character?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so that's
She strikes me as a Sam the Eagle type.
Really?
See, you're picking out like the more obscure characters now because that's where you want.
No, I know Sam the Eagle. I definitely know that. Yeah, but I would think probably Monster.
Okay.
It's either between Monster or the classic Miss Piggy.
I mean,
yeah,
it's a hard battle between the two of them.
See, I could picture Kelly as a Miss Piggy or as an animal person.
Sorry, animal, not Monster. I apologize.
Okay, I was thinking you were going with animal. Yeah.
No. It's either animal, or it's Miss Piggy, and then there's always a love for Beaker.
Yes, I love Beaker.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. Although I did get into this whole thing because Hello Kitty did the hat kit reveal thing for LAFC, and I was like, if we're going down that road, then I honestly suggest Atlanta United using Tigger, because Tigger, if we're talking about like characters that inspired my childhood, it was Tigger. I had a Tigger room when I was growing up.
I'm not against Tigger showing up to bang home the Golden Spike.
I would cry. I would legitimately cry. I would cry, and then I'd run down to take a photo with him immediately.
Okay, well then, speaking of crying and then running down and taking a photo, Michael Parkhurst announcing his retirement. What'd you think?
we all knew it was coming. Like, it's something that you knew was eventually coming. I guess I didn't expect for him to announce prior to the end of the season. I think maybe I assumed that, like, come towards the actual end of the season going into the playoffs, he would announce. So it kind of took me off guard that it was what it was announced yesterday. But I mean, he's done so much for this team. I mean, you guys talked about it yesterday. We wouldn't be where we are right now without him. We wouldn't have won the MLS Cup without him. We owe a great deal of our club and our mentality and just the overall structure of who we are as Atlanta United to Michael Parkhurst. I mean, he is a core foundation and a pillar of this team. And I think it's a great honor for him to be Atlanta United's first captain, but also a a more massive honor for us, for him to have been the first captain. I mean, what a great person, what a incredible career he's had. And I think he said it was either this morning or yesterday that he's glad that he's retiring as an Atlanta United player. And that just sort of summed up everything for me, is that this man who has such an illustrious career goes out as an Atlanta United player, obviously on a high. So it makes me very excited. What a great guy and what a wonderful person. And I hope he sticks around and becomes part of our structure at the front office and the technical staff.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the fans have planned for Parkhurst on October 6th, the final regular season match.
Yes.
Should be pretty cool to see.
There have been some discussions going on.
I am sure, for the captain. All right, Kelly, let everybody know where they can follow you and all the stuff you're working on these days.
Yeah, so you can follow me at the Kelly Francis on all the social medias. And then me, Jay, Devin, and Tanner are working on a bunch of new stuff coming out for For Real, and that's at For Real Sports LLC on all the social medias as well. So just check it out. If you haven't been able to watch this is the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It's a great document. We put a lot of work and effort into it. Obviously, my man Jason Longshore was on it, did an incredible job.
Thanks for having me on it.
You're absolutely welcome. And I look forward to being able to call in and talk to you guys a bit more. So looking forward to that as well.
All right. We'll check in with you again very soon. Thanks, Kelly.
No problem. Bye, guys.
We're going to take a break, come back, get deeper into Atlanta and NYC tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. We'll give you a couple storylines to peek in on right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, September 24th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you. John, who's your favorite Muppet?
Ooh, probably Animal.
Yeah, sounds about right. Not Statler and Waldorf.
Although I do see, but that's two of them because you said favorite Muppet.
Well, you can pick one of them if you want. I mean, they're pretty much the same. It's not like there's a lot
yeah,
of
but they're
difference between those
intertwined, and so to do something like I know how people could sit there and relate and sit there and go, yeah, Get Out of My Yard Guy. That would be Nelson's favorite Muppet.
But
yeah, really.
Or the Swedish Chef.
I spent most of my time trying to figure out what he was saying more than anything else.
Mine is from something. It's part of the Muppet universe, but it wasn't a regular feature. My favorite Jim Henson creation was Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Understood.
Came out in 1977, and it was on HBO like every Christmas all the time when I was a kid. And Kermit was the narrator to it, but just a brilliant Christmas special. And Emmett Otter is definitely my favorite in the Muppet universe. I think it's back in print now on DVD. It was out of print for a while. I think they're starting to do some different things with it. It's actually on YouTube. At least it was, because I've pulled it up there before. That's easily my favorite of the Jim Henson creations, and he's had so much. I mean, I think the Muppets are what grab most of the attention. But
yeah, when you're hanging out with Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and you're wondering if Zoot is actually going to have a functioning sax for a change.
The music in Jug Band Christmas was one of the greatest things about it. There was some great stuff in there. The heavy metal band that tried to win the talent contest was great.
Yeah. No, but yeah, for me it's Animal, and the band itself probably would be second. Statler and Waldorf are right up there too. But I understand Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker. Understand that completely. Understand Statler and Waldorf completely. So, no, I know where folks are coming from with some of their picks.
For me, it's Emmett Otter. Number 2 is Kermit, because, I mean, it's Kermit. Kermit's awesome. Muppet Babies, I didn't get into quite as much. But that was on when I was a kid. So that was like the first introduction, and that kind of led me into different things. So very cool stuff. Jim Henson was born on this day in 1936. We'll get into a few other on this days as we go this morning. But let's get ready for Atlanta and NYC tomorrow. This is a massive, massive game at Yankee Stadium. 7 o'clock kick, just after 7. I believe kickoff is 7:08. So we're on the air on 92.9 The Game, on the radio.com app, and the Atlanta United app at 6:30 for the Five Stripes Countdown. We will not have a full-time report afterwards because there's a plane to catch, but we will have at least a little bit of a longer segment to kind of wrap things up afterwards. David Goss was at the match in Frisco, Dallas, and NYC, and Warshaw included Goss's thoughts in his column today. And I just want to read you what David Goss saw, because this is really interesting with the way that game played out. Remember, NYC scored first minute and looked really good for the first 20 or so. Then Dallas took control and should have won the match. Goss said NYC came out with ultra-aggressive approach on the road. When they were pressing, they would push Maxi Morales up alongside the two strikers and go 3v3 with Dallas' center backs and defensive mid. Dallas loved to build through those players, so they struggled to cope. And Morales, Valentin Castellanos, and Alexandru Mitrița deserve a ton of credit because they worked their butts off. Even when they got bypassed, they tracked back and helped force turnovers. Dallas, and this is according to Goss, did two things in response. They started having goalkeeper Jesse Gonzalez clip balls to the second layer and bypass that press. And they shifted left back Ryan Hollingshead central to assume the central midfield responsibilities. Jesse Gonzalez clipping balls to the second layer. How often do we see Brad Kazan do that? That's a very common part of Atlanta's build-up, because they do want to build up out of the back. And if New York steps up to press in this way, Brad Kazan's going to have to do something he does a lot of anyway. and clip that ball to the pocket right around midfield up against the touchline. Now, what's difficult at Yankee Stadium is there's not a lot of room. So you're going to have to be precise, and you're going to also have to take the trade-off of more often than usual, you're going to be putting balls out for throw-ins at midfield. All right, that's the trade-off you make here. So this idea that NYC used to press early, I think there's a couple things. I mean, yes, Dallas made some changes to it and took control of the game, but I also think NYC got tired. And I want to see if they can have that level of intensity after playing on the weekend, after traveling back home, and without, likely, Keaton Parks, Anton Tinnerholm. What does Maxi Morales have in the tank after playing a lot of minutes for the first time in a while? Eber, it appears to be 30 minutes, no more for him in this one.
What does the back line look like? Yeah.
Maybe you're playing a little cat and mouse. I mean, the back, it's Tinnerholm, and when they go into a three-man back line, you're talking about Tinnerholm as a wing back, which is a little different situation. Do they play 3-4-3? Or do they play 4-3-3? They've done both. Do they go with more of a 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 type of situation here? They could. Dome Tarrant is not all that married to a particular formation. He will mix and match based off what he has available, and he's going to have to mix and match in this one. He's not going to be able to just roll out the same group that's been playing a lot lately because he's not going to have all those guys available. This is what Dome said after the draw in Dallas. He said, "It's not bad. It's 1 point. We were happy especially for the first 30 minutes, but everybody, my players and me, know we have to improve for the next game. We know it won't be easy. It's Atlanta, the champions last season. It's important. Right now, the gap is 4 points with 3 games left. It means the league and our conference are in the hands of New York City." Absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Can they hold serve? Because a draw for them would be fine. I don't really know if they're a team that can play for a draw. I don't know if they necessarily have that in them. And I don't know with the absences that they have, because don't forget James Sands, who was playing a lot of center back for them. He's out as well. He's been out for a while. I don't know if they're built to sit and try to play on the counter. I don't know if that's what Dome Tarrant wants to do anyway. So how do they play better, as Dome says they have to do? How do they play smarter? Because you don't want to lose this game. You can get away with not winning it, but you can't lose it if you're NYC, because then that makes everything even more difficult in the final 2 games on the road. I don't know. I'm really interested to see what the starting 11 looks like for New York City tomorrow.
Yeah. And with all of these questions and the pieces that you'll have but not fully, and I got more questions than I do answers right now, and that's why the Palace intrigue of the Bronx for me is that's going to be an interesting play, and I want to see what they're looking at here, and the whole idea of, it's in your hands. Biggest thing is you come out of there with a point. All right, you don't, then it's really tight heading down to the wire. Right.
Then you can't make a mistake, and you're 2 on the road in your final 2, and you got to go to Philadelphia for one of those. The lineup against Dallas, they played it in the 3-4-3 that played a lot like Atlanta's played when Barco's been in the team, in the 3-4-3 that definitely looks more in that realm, looks a little bit more like a 3-4-2-1, or you can call it a box midfield, however you want to do it, where Atlanta takes their 3-5-2 and has Barco and Pitti kind of sit behind Joseph. That's what New York City, I think, was trying to get accomplished here. So it was Castellanos up top, hard worker. He's going to make Miles Robinson work. He's going to try to draw fouls. He's going to be a pain in the neck. He's going to grab you. He's going to throw a forearm into your back. He's going to fall down. He's going to do everything possible to get you off your game. And he's going to do that to Miles. He's going to do that to LGP. He's going to do that to Franco Escobar. And with LGP and Escobar, they're going to have to manage that. You know, their countryman Castellanos is an antagonist. He's going to try to get you riled up. Behind him, they played Matriza and Morales, two smaller guys, two very mobile guys, two guys who can drift out wide, but also comfortable running through the central channels. Two guys who I think see the game in the same way. And when they're in sync, they're really difficult to deal with because one time down the field, Matriza can flare out wide. Morales steps up to play next to Castellanos. Next time, it's Morales who flares out wide. Matriza could kind of drift over to the other side. It feels like it's different every time in the build-up. The wing-backs were Tennerholm on the right, Matarrita on the left. Not expecting to see Anton Tennerholm after leaving the game after a collision of heads. We have not seen an update yet in terms of concussion protocol or anything like that. I'm very careful not to say that he is out with a concussion because we don't know, and just terminology, you want to get it right in these types of situations.
Yeah.
He collided head-to-head with Brandon Cervania, and he had to leave the game because of that later. I don't see him in the team on Wednesday. Does that mean Eric Miller goes from playing as a third center back to a wing back? Possibly. Or, and this is where I'm kind of leaning, does Dome Tarrant say that I don't trust someone else in there as another center back? I don't trust Ibiaga. I don't trust Ben Sweat in there. I'm going to go to a line of 4 because I trust the people I have to play the line of 4 better. Drop Matarrita to a left back, play Miller as a right back, play Chanot and Callens as 2 center backs, especially considering Atlanta without Joseph Martinez. Maybe they can feel like, you know what, we can go with 2 center backs here and we can still be okay, and maybe define it just a little bit easier based off the players we have available.
That's the one that makes the most sense to me.
I think. I'm not 100% convinced of it. I think that's where they will go because Ibiaga hasn't been great this season. Miller has 4 games. You know, he hasn't been there a ton, so are you going to trust him to move over to a wingback role? Are you going to think about moving Ben Sweat or Matarrita over to the right side off of their favorite left side? I think.
See, but that's too much movement for me in a big game. That's too much movement, moving guys
on these things. Like it's not. This isn't. Dome Tarrant doesn't manage it in a rigid way. So, yes, I hear what you're saying, but Dome is not the kind of manager to be afraid of going from 3-4-3 to 4-3-3 and moving guys around. That he's not worried about that. The question is Miller's comfort playing as a wingback versus a right back or a right center back. I don't know. He's played it, I think, in his career. He's an experienced player. He's 26 years old. He's been around the block. I think he could handle it if Dome Tarrant feels like that's what can get the best shape. My bigger question is then that would bring in Sebastian Ibiaga, and I haven't really been convinced by him this season. The other thing you can do, and we've seen it, but I think it's far less likely because of the injury to Keaton Parks with a hamstring, you could move Alexander Ring to the back line, and that's happened this season too. You could play Ring as a center back, move Miller over to the wing back, and keep your 3-4-3. But that means you're going to be playing probably 2 different central midfielders, and that's a bigger risk because I don't think Keaton Parks is going to be able to go from the start.
Right.
Ebenezer Afori, good, hardworking, can be a 6, can be an 8, good central midfielder, good fit. You can pair him with Ring, I think you're okay. I don't think you're going to be able to move Ring to the back line, which is probably something Tarrant would have liked to have done. I don't think he's going to have the option. I think he goes 4-3-3. I think he goes 4-3-3, and that makes New York City not as effective in the attack, in my opinion. I think they're better off attacking in this 3-4-3. I think they're better off attacking in this kind of shape. If they go 4-3-3, my guess is it's Miller, Chanot, Callens, and Monterita as your back four. It's Ring and Ofori sitting behind probably Morales, but I do worry about where his minutes are. If it's not Morales, it would probably be Matriza in that number 10 role. It's Castellanos as the 9, and then your wingers, you're probably looking at Ismail Tajori-Shradi, who's had injuries this season, only played 16 times.
That was the question Shiva
goals.
had, was Tajori-Shradi, considering that Dome said he needed him for 90.
I think it's Tajori-Shradi, and I think it's Gary Mackay-Steven. I think they go 4-3-3. It could be Jesus Medina, but he has not had a good year, although he's gotten some minutes as of late. I think that it would be Tajori-Shradi, Castellanos, and Mackay-Steven or Medina. And I would probably lean Mackay-Steven, although that's more of a toss-up, probably depending on how they've looked in training. I think that's where you go 4-3-3. And that's going to be the better approach out of what you have available. But it's a little bit of piecemeal for Dome Toronto, just like it's going to be for Atlanta, but not with as many pieces. It's what do you do to replace Joseph? How do you make it work? How many changes do you want to make? Are there concerns about anybody else? We don't know. I'm not expecting to see Barco. I think Frank DeBoer made that pretty clear yesterday. So do you go with Brandon Vasquez slotting in for Joseph? Done. And you go with everybody else? You could. You easily could. Do you take this opportunity to change other things? Do you go 4-3-3 as well? You could. I don't know if you need to. I don't know if it helps you in this field or not. It's kind of hard because this field is what it is. You're going to be narrow no matter what shape you go with. But with wingbacks on this field, they're not going to look like normal wingbacks because there's just not the room to spread the field in the same way. And that's been a big key for Atlanta in the second half of the year as Merrim and Gressel have gotten wider and wider to stretch the field and make it difficult for teams to box Atlanta in. They're able to make that big switch and have Gressel on one touchline, have Merrim on the other touchline, and keep things wide open. There's not as much open at Yankee Stadium. There's just not the room to do that. So how do you handle it? Let's go down the scenario just like we did with NYC. If you go to 4-3-3, if you say, you know what, for this game, the way things work out, we're going to go 4-3-3 because that's where we feel like we can get the best out of this. I think it's Miles and LGP as your two center backs, obviously. It's Escobar as your right back. This is where it's tricky. Who's on the left? Do you turn to Mike Ambrose? You could. Do you kind of engineer a situation where you play Florentine Pogba as a left back, but he's essentially a center back? You could. You could do that. You could make this be a hybrid in a lot of ways if you have to. And this is absolutely speculation, like looking at possibilities because you're going to have to do something different without Joseph. Do you make this a little bit of a hybrid, a little bit of a lopsided, where it's Pogba, Robinson, LGP as your three center backs? Pogba can look like a left back. He can be a false left back. He can be whatever you want to call it. Escobar is the right wing back / right back. Gressel is up higher in the formation or tucked in centrally if Nagbe or Remedi or Heinemann need a break. Vasquez, I think, is the easy substitution if it's the same shape. If you go 4-3-3, maybe you go Tito up top, or you go Tito out wide on the right in the 4-3-3. Merrim can play out wide on the left in the 4-3-3, no problems there. If you're going to line it up in a 4-3-3 and you go Pogba, who's going to stay home more, he's not going to play like a traditional left back. Robinson, LGP, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. Escobar on the right.
Right.
Three central midfielders. Let's say you want to get Tito in this game along with Vasquez. You go with Remedi, Nagbe, Gressel, or some permutation of it. You could go Jeff, Nagbe, Gressel.
To have that presence hanging back defensively with Jeff, yeah.
Yep. You could go with something that we kind of saw Tata Martino do late last season, where he went with, Jeff, Gressel, Nagbe, where they're kind of sitting deeper. Remedi, Gressel, Nagbe, where Remedi's sitting a little bit deeper. You've got lots of possibilities in the midfield. It's kind of pick your choices there. Gressel could be the right winger, or Tito could be. Merrim could be the left winger. Pereira could spell him if you need to. Vasquez is the number 9. You could make that work on the narrow field. It's just how much time have you had to work on it? You know, I mean, you didn't have time to work on the situation with Pitti and Barco up top against Orlando. And you've also got Pitti who could play as a 10, or he could play out wide in a 4-3-3. You've got a lot of different possibilities here. And if you are Frank de Boer and you're going into this game, you know your situation at this point. Look, it's probably a longer shot now for Atlanta to win the East with Joseph Martinez's injury. Do you try something? Do you say, we can't be the same team we've been without Joseph, without Barco right now? We're going to have to do something different if we want to win this. There's really no risk because you're not expected to without Joseph. I mean, what was the first line that was said yesterday on Extra Time by Charlie Davies when they talked about the Joseph injury? What are Atlanta's chances of winning MLS Cup? Nada, zilch, none, nothing, zero, none. That was the first thing that was said. It was almost a celebration. Really strange. But, okay. You've got 3 games. I'm not expecting to see Joseph in any of those 3. I think we can safely assume that we'll see Barco.
Yes.
This one is a game that you're not going to have Barco. You're not going to have Joseph. Do you go outside the box? Do you go to something that is very different to try to take advantage of an opposition that is already going to be like, well, what are they going to do? What's it going to be? How are they going to play? We don't know. Are they going to do something different? Are they going to go with the same thing and just plug and play? We don't know what to expect. Do you take advantage of that and go even more outside the box and try something? I think it's going to come down to how much Frank de Boer trusts his players to be able to handle a larger amount of change at this point. And that's why I pushed back when you talked about, when I said NYC changing XYZ, and you're like, that's too many changes. I think both of these managers don't see the game that way. They don't see playing a player in whether it's Eric Miller playing as a right back or a right wing back or a right center back, they don't see that as a big deal. They don't see Julian Gressel playing as a right wing back, as a right winger, or a central midfielder as big of a deal. Players are expected to be able to fulfill different roles and roles as needed. I think that's what you could be looking at both ways here. The lineup sheets, like this is the game that I'm looking forward to 6 o'clock, an hour before kick, the most to see what both teams do. Because it's a huge game with a lot of absences and both managers who are not by-the-book guys, not rigid guys who could go off the board. And if one of them hit on something special here, that could be the difference. It could make the difference in this match. It's going to be interesting. We're going to take a break, come back, final segment. If you have any questions about Atlanta NYC, throw them at us. Anything else on a Tuesday Thoughts edition, send it our way on Twitter at SoccerDownHere right now. We'll be right back.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, September 24th. Final segment, Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show as we prepare for Atlanta and NYC. Couple programming reminders. Tomorrow morning we will not be live. We will have a taped show for you with the SDH Galaxy of Stars that will be contributing to no, it's Galaxy. It's the Playtone Galaxy of Stars. I'm not going back to I think it was Jackie Gleason or something who had a cavalcade of stars. No, I'm going to That Thing You Do and one of the greatest movies of all time and the Playtone Galaxy of Stars. That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah, Jackie Gleason and the Cavalcade of Stars.
Ah, see. Thanks to the OG Soccer for Good OG for that one. But no, it's the Galaxy of Stars here in the SDH universe because we rip off Tom Hanks movies around here. That's what we do. But
catching up with all of them
tomorrow morning.
Today. Yeah, so tomorrow morning
when that will go live.
And it'll be Chris Furmeister, Joe Patrick, Doug Robertson, Jarrett, and Felipe Cardenas.
Aha. So that'll be 9 o'clock. I'll have a Q&A with you at some point during the day. Mike is busy with NBA broadcast meetings in New York, so he's already up there. I will be chiming in from somewhere. I'll give you a heads up. Probably after lunch or depending on how early we get to Yankee Stadium, it could be in that like 4 o'clock region once we get there. So I'll keep you posted on social media as to when that will be. So line up your questions. This afternoon we'll have stoppage time, myself and Jimmy Vance from the 92.9 The Game studios, 2 o'clock on Facebook.com/929thegame. Thursday, we will have a somewhat normal SDH show, just on a delayed basis. We will be 9 a.m. on the West Coast for our listeners on the West Coast, which I'm sure there's a bunch of. So it'll be noon in Atlanta because then I'll be awake.
Yes, which is important.
Yes, I don't think I could do the show asleep, but stranger things have happened. So, taped show tomorrow morning, noon show on Thursday, no stoppage time tomorrow. It will be today at 2 o'clock. No full-time report tomorrow on 92.9 after the game. Everything else, I think, is pretty normal. So It's going to be a hectic next couple of days. We've got some Tuesday thoughts on This Day with Jim Henson and the Muppets. We've also got some on soccer-related things. Let's do the Muppets one and On This Day, but there's a couple other On This Days I wanted to mention as well. There is a very important soccer-related one, talking about stadiums today. Barcelona, the Camp Nou, opened on this day in 1957.
Oh, wow.
One of the greatest venues in the world of sports, period, but definitely in our sport, in soccer. The Camp Nou opened in 1957. There's been lots of talk about, I don't think they're ever going to build a brand new stadium, but some pretty big renovations of the Camp Nou or expansions or different things. It's kind of quieted down. There was a lot of talk about this over the last couple of years, and I haven't heard as much as of late. It's an iconic venue. It's one that I would love to go see a game at some point. In the world of wrestling, there is a very important person born on this day in 1976, Stephanie McMahon.
Wow.
One of the greatest heels in wrestling.
Modern heels.
Modern heels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can roll with that.
And especially with bringing plot lines to the fore and being a central figure and elevating the status of women in sports entertainment, definitely.
Yes, I think long term her impact is going to be felt more off camera than on. I think there's been so much off camera that she's done, and in terms of, like you say, elevating the roles of women in the industry, but also she spearheaded a ton of the community work that the WWE has done, and they do a massive amount of charitable things. The Make-A-Wish organization, I think WWE has done more with Make-A-Wish than any other entity in the world. I know John Cena has the record for wishes granted, which is craziness.
Right.
She's been very involved in a lot of that from early on. So Stephanie McMahon, born on this day in 1976. Jim Henson, we mentioned, born on this day in 1936. But there was a big-time album released on this day as well. Nirvana, Nevermind, released on this day in 1991. Changed music. One of the most important albums ever released.
Yeah. And your favorite Nirvana tune would be?
From that album, it's Drain You. Easily. Smells Like Teen Spirit's iconic, and I mean, it still sounds fresh, but Drain You's my favorite. I kind of go back and forth on this a lot, but I think that I like In Utero, the next one, better. It's a little more raw and in your face, and that was by design. Nevermind is when alternative rock and especially grunge grew up. It's a little more polished than they sounded live. I think it needed to be because, again, it changed rock music for sure. It changed music, I think. But yeah, Drain You is the one I'll go with. I'll go with In Utero as their best album, and the Unplugged performance is the greatest ever done in the history of that program.
Yeah, that's why it's my favorite release of theirs. 2005, the Library of Congress added Nevermind to the National Recording Registry, which collects, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically important, end quote, sound recordings.
100%. It's absolutely that big of a record, and it was released on this day in 1991. So for those of you on Twitter, you can chime in with your favorite Nirvana track, your favorite Muppet. Those are both on the table. And I know we've got some favorite Muppets to get to. The soccer
and we also
side,
have a shared birthday with Stephanie McMahon.
Okay.
Allison Cupertino.
Oh, happy birthday. We had a lot of birthdays in the SDH universe this week, Jess, and Robin Sagini as well.
Yep.
All these
So,
birthdays.
where'd you like to go next?
I believe we have to talk about your fantasy team.
Okay. You don't want to go through Twitter real quick and then end on fantasy?
It depends on how bad your fantasy team is.
All right, so then let's go through it quickly then.
Oh, wow. You're not you're not believing in your fantasy team.
A lot of this, well, I'm going to finish in the upper third in the league. That's not going to be up for much debate. I was fourth in points heading into the Sunday matches across the league itself and finished 23rd. So I think I'm destined for just upper third when it comes to the SDH league.
Okay.
In net, I've got Vega because it's a double.
Okay. He'll probably make a lot of saves.
At the back, Hollingshead, Juan, Hedges, and Segura.
So, Hollingshead. Let me pull up
Colorado
schedule. Yeah, he's on a double though, and you've got some double options.
I was stuck. I just got frustrated trying to grab doubles that didn't make any sense for one match or the other, so I went with Hollingshead, Juan, and Hedges at the back.
So you go Hollingshead on the road in Colorado, where the Rapids have been really good, and Hollingshead missed a sitter in the last match.
Yep.
That's a bad call. Juan on the road in Cincinnati, I guess. I would maybe go Brandon Bye in a double, even though it's difficult, but it's a double from New England. I don't think they're going to give up a ton of goals, and Brandon Bye could be somebody who gets you something. I don't like the Hollingshead one at all.
And then Segura on a double.
Yeah, that one's okay.
Midfield, Pavone, Atuesta, Mark Anthony K, and Rusnak.
Okay. I'm cool with that. Rusnak's been one of the best players in the league over the last couple months.
And up top, I have a captain, Zlatan, and Shabilko.
Yep. That sounds good. Yeah, that backline needs some work.
Okay, so there you go.
I don't trust Hollingshead as far as I can throw him, and I think you can do better than Juan just with the one game. You've got lots of options of defenders who might get you some points that play twice.
Morera, Justin Glad, Miles.
I mean, Matarrita, Miles, LGP, Icopara, Metanair. Yeah, you've got plenty of options. You can do better than those two.
So then I've now got Miles, LGP, and Bye with Segura at the back.
Well, there you go. See, it can be very quick advice when it needs to be.
Yep.
The board on Prize Picks not up yet. Keep checking. It'll go up either later today or early tomorrow. If you have not signed up for myprizepicks.com, use the code SDH when you do. You're going to get 25% of your initial deposit matched up to $1,000. You're also going to get a free 2-pick $25 play to get you started. It's a very forgiving one. If you get half of it right, you're going to get a much larger return than you normally would for getting half of one back. You're getting half of one right. So take advantage of myprizepicks.com, Prize Picks app on Android or iOS. Use the code SDH when you sign up and mix and match and combine your MLS picks with SEC football and esports or whatever you feel. There's lots of different options.
Twitter. To finish up. John Roper says, and it was good to see John last night. John came out to hang out with us at the brew house. John says that Orlando is a talent vampire.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it. They kind of are.
This sucks the life out of you.
That was basically said, not as poetically, but that was said by Matt Doyle. And, I'm trying to remember who he was talking about initially. I think he was talking about Merrim. Or no, it wasn't even Merrim. It was somebody else. He was talking about one of many players that Orlando has had and went, no. He was talking about somebody who was in Orlando and went elsewhere and did better. And Orlando was like, oh, yeah, well, you only got one possibility. Then he named like 5 more in about 30 seconds, which was one of the greatest Twitter murders I've ever seen.
Percy Herrera says the feelings we have going into Orlando games is solely based on not wanting to give up that first win to them. Once they get that W, that rivalry will be over.
I don't think that rivalry will be over at all. Percy, I completely and utterly disagree. And I think it's more than just being afraid of losing to them first. I think a win for Orlando will kick that rivalry up a notch. I actually really feel like that's the case. I think Atlanta's going to be that club that has rivalries with a lot of teams. I just think that's where Atlanta is. They are Boca or River in Argentina. They are Madrid or Barcelona. They are the big team in the league. They're going to be one of the big teams in the league, along with LA, along with Miami, along with NYC, I think. They're going to be one of those focal points. Seattle has been that for a while. I think Seattle's not quite that anymore. And there's going to be a lot of people in a lot of cities who don't like Atlanta. Now, from the Atlanta perspective, I think there's going to be some that mean more than others. And Red Bulls means a lot. I think NYC means more than maybe we give it credit for as a rivalry. I think Atlanta-Miami will be a bit of a measuring stick and will have some spice to it. It's hard with the Western Conference teams because you only see them once, but Atlanta-Minnesota is more than just an average game because they came in together, and for Minnesota, Atlanta is the measuring stick. Atlanta-LAFC has felt big both times it's played. Atlanta Galaxy hasn't had that feel yet, which is interesting. Atlanta-LAFC feels like a bigger deal than Atlanta and the Galaxy. Atlanta-Portland is a little something because of the MLS Cup game. So you've got a lot, and I think you'll always have a lot, but Orlando will be one of the ones that has more meaning than others generally. And I think when Orlando gets a win, it'll have even more meaning.
Snowman says his favorite, Jimmy Vance over 92.9 The Game, says his favorite Muppets were Statler and Waldorf.
That sounds about right. I can see that.
Yeah. And then John Roper comes back in and says his favorite Jim Henson creation would have to be Dark Crystal.
Oh, see, I know of it, but I don't know much about it at all. You'd have to fill me in on that, or John would.
Yeah, so I can't. Dark
nothing?
Crystal wasn't something. No, I got nothing.
I know of it. I just don't know.
Yeah, I know of it. For me, I would have to do the Google search and then give details on that. But yeah, I know it exists, and I know it was kind of a little more darker and in depth than the Muppet stuff that we've normally seen.
Yes. I'm gonna have to dig into that. See, now I need to look at what other Jim Henson products. So Fraggle Rock was a Jim Henson.
Yes.
I didn't get as into Fraggle Rock. I can't.
Yeah, I wasn't
claim
a big Fraggle Rocker.
I mean, obviously, did Jim Henson contribute to Sesame Street?
Efforting.
There might have been a little bit of overlap.
Muppets, Fraggle Rock, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth.
Labyrinth was a good one. I liked that as a kid.
Let's see.
I can roll with Labyrinth. That's a weird one.
Muppet Show. Yeah, he started actually doing Muppet stuff on the Steve Allen Show with Jack Barr and Ed Sullivan, all three of those programs in the late 50s. Yep, Sesame Street in 69. Children's Television Workshop was so impressed with Henson, asked him to work full-time on Sesame Street in 1969.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. So it looks like he kind of helped flesh out Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure how much he had to do with that. I'd seen it linked, but I didn't know exactly what his role was.
Directed the original C is for Cookie and Tales from Muppet Land.
Ooh, well, there you go. Done. Sweet.
Hey, it's good enough for me.
Yes.
ATL-UTD fan number 1. When I think it through, I believe Atlanta United can still be a problem even without Joseph for a few matches if our team plays together and openly. I see a ton of shots on goal from several players, P.T. Nagbe, Miram, Tito, and Barco upon his return. We aren't done at all.
No, definitely not done. And I think it's silly to think that. I thought the extra time reaction was over the top on that. It's different. I mean, we saw it firsthand in Orlando in the Open Cup semifinal, where you go into that and you're kind of figuring it out on the fly in that one because Joseph was ruled out the day before. And it's Pitti and Barco up top in the 3-5-2, and took about 15, 20 minutes for them to kind of figure out, all right, the movement here is different, the shaping's a little different, how are we going to do this? Eric Rometti starts to step forward more and has a huge impact. So who's going to do that? You know, are they going to go with Vasquez or Tito up top, which is going to be more of the same, just a different personality in that role? Or when Barco's healthy, is it going to be Pitti and Barco and more of the double false 9 where everybody's dropping in and building, and it's going to be lots of later runs that are causing teams problems? That could absolutely work too. So you've got time. You've got a game at Yankee Stadium that is going to be very tight with or without Joseph. You've got a game in Montreal against a team that is throwing everything they have left this season into the Canadian Championship tomorrow. If they lose, they're going to be dead emotionally on Sunday. If they win, they might be hungover emotionally on Sunday. There's a lot of possibilities for Montreal not really putting up a lot of a fight on Sunday. There's also the possibilities of Pride kicking in and them playing better at home than they have as of late. I just don't know if I can trust Montreal after the loss to Cincinnati and the bad loss at home to D.C. It's kind of like, what's going on with you guys? Then you get New England in the final game at home, where you're going to get a lift from the home fans with or without Joseph. And New England's a team that you should beat, flat out. I mean, you have to worry about them with Carlos Healy. You have to worry about them with Gustavo Bo, but it's a team that you should win. And by that point, you get to the postseason. You're going to play at home. You might not have to play that first weekend. You might buy a couple more days for Joseph to recover, and I can see a scenario where he's back at that point. So you've still got a lot to play for, and you've still got the possibility of winning the East, and you've still got the possibility of winning MLS Cup. It's not going to be easy. It's harder without Joseph, obviously. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to make that that statement. But is it impossible? No, I disagree. I don't think it is, especially if you get Barco back and he can hit the ground running. Now, that's a big question. But if Barco comes back and has the impact that he's had on this team when he's played, yeah, you can make up for it.
Shiva wants to know if Carlos Vela is going to break Joseph's record, 2 to tie, 3 to break.
I think so. I think he does. I'm not sure. It's slowed down a little bit for him, but I think so. And it might be penalties that do it, but I think he'll get it.
Kevsey says, we all have some Henson learning to do. Gonzo as a favorite.
Ooh, good call. I like it.
And then last one on the board from the Soccer for Good OG, Jill Robbins. What stokes Atlanta's multi-rivalries is that an ATL pastime, besides rolling in late to events, is trolling. Hashtag troll game 100. Hashtag they are all rivals.
If the shirt came out for the other team in the A and B group that said ATL versus all y'all, and it was with an Atlanta United logo on it instead of the Falcons logo, yeah, that would be massive, and it would be very popular. So
yes,
that
would have issues being kept in a store near you.
Yes, I could absolutely see that becoming a thing. So. That's the world that Atlanta United lives in, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium, no matter how many people that NYC is missing, no matter how many people Atlanta is missing. This is a game between the two best teams in the East, and there's going to be a lot of things that will go into it, from when the lineups are selected to how it plays out to what adjustments both teams make throughout the match, because it feels like a very tactical battle between Dome Tarrant and Frank DeBoer. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to being on the call tomorrow night on 92.9 The Game. Get your preview in the morning with the SDH Galaxy of Stars, and then I'll have a Q&A with you later in the day. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and thanks for chiming in all morning on the Twitters. We'll be back in various forms tomorrow. Much plot, y'all.
Much plot, y'all.